Thursday, July 13th, 2023. Last night was a bit crazy. We heard an air alarm, and it was like almost felt like it was right outside our window. I mean, it was really loud, and it turned out it was the second alarm for the air raid being over. So we never heard the first one that was 2 hours before. And sometimes that happens. They don't always sound the alarms, especially here in Lviv. But for some reason, and that actually happened when the attack happened. There was no first alarm. We just heard explosions. Then the alarms came on, and then another alarm came on to say that the air raid was over. And today we just got the air raid was over alarm here, and it just woke us up again around 2:30 in the morning, right in the middle of REM sleep. And then it's really hard to get back to bed, once you've been dislodged like this. So I don't know, last few days Zelensky has been on a road trip, and apparently he was here in Lviv. I don't know, there was a bunch of people waiting outside the hotel the other day, one of the major hotels, and I waited for like 1 or 2 hours and he never showed up, so I just went home. It was getting late, and it gets really hard to get the Uber or the taxi or whatever after like 9 or 10 o'clock. So, and then walking, I mean, I can walk home in 40 minutes, but sometimes I just get lazy. So yeah, he was on a road trip, and I guess it sounds like they're going to give Ukraine everything it needs to defend itself, but I wonder what that means. I mean, so far I've only seen some tanks and some ammunition given, so it's more of the same. Like, he has to beg just to get what can sustain the current situation. So we'll see. I mean, they're making really good use of the weapons they got. They are really hitting the targets and everything. And from seeing, the Russian soldiers they have like no will, and they're really I mean, they're just zombies. I mean, they're just it's just I guess in some way you got to feel sorry for them, because they're like conscripted. They're like all from villages. They don't know any better, and then either they're going to get cut down by the Ukrainians or by their own people, But I guess that's the life. That's what happens. We can't. We have our own problems here, and we got a country to save here. So that's just what happens. I'm sure that Republican media or something will twist this around and say Ukraine is committing atrocities, when it's really just self-defense. So yeah, it looks like things are turning around. There's also some news that they're going to build a tank factory. Rheinmetall, my favorite company, one of my favorite defense companies. I mean, Kongsberg, General Dynamics, Rheinmetall, they're getting into the game and going to build a tank factory here in Ukraine. So it's I think changing. I think maybe my vision of Ukraine being this massive arms producing country will come to fruition, but it's also looking like a compromise or a ceasefire is going to happen, where they're going to have to freeze the lines indefinitely. And maybe that'll get them the NATO membership, because the stipulation for the NATO is the fighting has got to stop. They can't join NATO right in the middle of a war. It's like buying health insurance after you get sick, So usually there's a 90-day wait, when you buy health insurance before you can use it. And so it's the same sort of thing, I think, with NATO. You can't buy it when you're in the middle of having an ailment, or pre-existing conditions or something like this. So it's really something. So people are asking me, like, I'm working on this new freelance job, for this healthcare company in America, and I'm working with a lot of people from Ukraine, and they're like really shocked that I'm here, and I even live in Norway, right? So it's quite obvious. I've made it clear I don't live in America because, like, the random random violence can get you just as much as probably, if not more. I bet you the statistics like car accidents and random violence are more of a risk than getting killed by a rocket in Lviv. I bet you if you look at per thousand. So it's actually technically safer here in Lviv. I mean, if you're driving a car, I mean, like I said, the riskiest thing we do in Lviv is cross the road. And I think if you're driving a car, that could increase your risks. But you could mitigate that by just doing everything you need to do in the mornings or live within walking distance of work or something. But why I don't live in Norway? I was doing a lot of slipping and falling in Norway. You know, in Norway, it's like around the springtime, the whole country is covered with ice, you know, and you slip and fall everywhere. It's like everything is like covered in a sheet of glass. It's around March, April, and this is like for a couple weeks, and there's a lot of broken wrists, you know, and broken ankles and things like this, and it's really, really slippery. At least my experience in Oslo, and cars are sliding everywhere on the roads. So there is a couple months, but I mean it's still definitely much safer than here. But I mean if there is a risk, a health risk in Norway, it's the ice. It's they get this really icy because they're right on the sea. So even the snow is icy, and everything gets covered in a sheet of ice. And I used to live like in a downstairs apartment, and all the steps were covered with ice, and it was like I had to put on these spikes, you know, like crampons on my boots, you know, just to walk, and even those wouldn't grip. And they even had like in the store you could buy these more serious mountain climber spikes for your boots or shoes, and you know you have to put these things on, you have to take them off, you have to go through all these layers. So in Ukraine we don't get as much of that here. We get a softer snow, more of a wet snow. I didn't experience much iciness. I think it was only 1 or 2 days in the year that there was this where things were so icy it was unwalkable. But that is something you have to look out for in Norway. That could be a health hazard, is ice. But yeah, in addition, you know, the prices there are really high. The taxes in Norway are worth it. I don't have any problem paying the taxes there. You get a lot for your tax money. Everything is clean. The roads work. Medical system is pretty good, especially for young families. You cannot beat it, you know. But housing has kind of gone off the rails there. Housing is really, really expensive, and I don't know why the government lets everything happen in Oslo. They should be like building up public transportation systems in the other cities, like metros, undergrounds, not just buses, but like some real. So I think Trondheim and Bergen got a little bit of that, but it's not as extensive as Oslo. Oslo has an unbelievable metro and transportation system, and then it's just all around cool city, you know, and it has the airport, international airport. So I think maybe the rest of Norway is catching up on this, like being able to get international flights, because if you're living like in a lot of places in Norway, it just takes you like a day to get to Oslo. There's only like one Widerøe flight a day to get to Oslo, and then you got to like stay in a $400 a night hotel, which just doesn't even have windows. You know, you get some room in a Radisson, and it's just all IKEA inside. You know, IKEA look, and you're lucky if you have a window that's like, and if there is a window, you get to view like a wall, and that's like $400 a night. You know, I mean, that's like a whole week of, you know, in a luxury resort in Turkey or something. So I mean, the prices there are just like but you know what that is like a lot of that is tax, and a lot of that is paying the workers a living wage, you know, that the workers can get by. But the wealth gap is kind of widening in Norway, and I don't know, they had you know, these you know, business-oriented people running the country for a while, and I mean, Norway can still have the cake and eat it too, I think. But you know, they can just put taxes on the wealthy and everything, and so what if a few of them leave? They have enough of this state industry, you know, now that's exporting to cover that, so they can get back to where they were in the 90s. But they got to rein in this housing. Or you know, they got to start building out in other cities and make those other cities like another Oslo, you know. And I think like Drammen would be a good candidate for this. and up north like Lillehammer and everything. And Hamar, there's another city in Norway I like a lot, is Hamar. People there actually are friendly and outgoing. I mean, Norwegians in general, they're nice people and stuff, but you got to know what you're going to say and have something to say. They're helpful and everything, but they're not this like warm and fuzzy, unless it's like May 17th or something. But you go up to Hamar, I noticed that there was this kind of like friendliness up there. And even in some of the smaller towns, I think, because they just want people to move in. So they're trying to put on a good face so that you move to their like little town. Like they have all these towns, you go from like Hamar up to this other city, Røros, up in the north. Then it gets like friendlier, but that's more like a marketing, because they're losing people. All the people there are trying to go to Oslo, because Oslo has all the fun and all the excitement, international airport, the high paid jobs, so yeah. But if you move to Norway and live in these towns, yeah, it's a pretty good life, but you're kind of isolated. And then there's a lot of ice. Everything is like covered in ice and everything, and that used to get me. I used to, it's like you have to walk very carefully, because I fell down, I broke ribs one time, I got the wind knocked out of me another time, because you just gotta, and then you just get into a situation where you're just like walking like tiptoeing, and even then that throws your balance off, because when you're looking down at your feet, looking where you're going, looking down, that throws your balance off. You're supposed to like stand upright, so all your weight is going straight down, and that'll actually give you better balance on the ice. And so there's this yeah, so that's just the dangers of Norway and everything. But I think, as I was saying to people about also Norway, it's like, for a person like myself who's been kind of adventurous and enjoys working in chaotic environments, like the job I have now, it's extremely chaotic, and things are extremely, they need organization. It's like we have these like really smart guys. I'm working with like a bunch of doctors that also studied computer science, and are trying to build this advanced data system, and they know what they want, and they know how it should work and everything, but they don't really have a vision on how to build it. And that's where project management comes into play, is like, how do you actually build this thing that you want? Like, how do you make the cake? What your dream cake is, or your dream lasagna is, but how do you start assembling it? Where do you start? How do you build the factory? Even first you have to build a factory before you can even build the product. And so but it's very enjoyable, because they actually appreciate this project management side, because a lot of people, project management's an afterthought or something they can cut out. Oh, it's just a waste of money, I can do it myself, but it's an incredibly complicated science, and I think it's something that was taken seriously in America and Japan. Actually it was started in America by Richard Deming, but they didn't they laughed him out of General Motors, and he went to Japan, and in Toyota he started talking, and everyone there started taking notes on everything he said. And Richard Deming, an American, is the basis of the Toyota system, and he's the basis of lean and Kanban and even agile. This all goes back to Deming. So yeah, interesting, so, but yeah, this management and this working and systematically, progressively, is how they put airplanes together, and how they build killer weapons and all this kind of stuff, and apps and what have you. So it's not an afterthought, but it's not the main thing either. It can't become about the project management, and that's where it went wrong. That's where I think why they had to change the test, because it all became about managing creating a bureaucracy and managing it, and making sure all the documents were done. But all the documents being done and up to date didn't equate to a finished working project. So that's where the agile came in, and now it's evolved to where everything has to finish on working outputs. They accept that things will have to be reworked in the future, code refactoring in software, or product updates, or product evolution, to just get something out there, get money coming in. So it's now more connected to the business. So you're seeing that science itself evolve. That science itself is changing. But anyway, that's another discussion. This is like I said, this is like sort of my video diary of life in Ukraine. So yeah, so that's I just want to get down to the point, like, why wouldn't I'm now registered out of Norway. I'm closing down my company in Norway, and just looking for more permanence here in Ukraine. Going to start my lessons here, but Norway gives me a way into Europe. So with a Norwegian passport, we can always go live in Europe. I can take jobs in Europe and everything, because it's like now being a U.S. Once you're a citizen of one state in America, you're a citizen of the whole country. So once you're a citizen of one European country, you're basically a citizen in the whole EU. You can have mobility. I mean, yes, if you go live in Germany, you'll have to, even as a Norwegian, you can switch your passport to a German passport, but there's really no need. You just register yourself in Germany. You can access the medical system, pay the taxes there, and then you're out registered from Norway. And there's really no need to go get a German document. It's get an ID card, just like you change driver's licenses based on the state you're in America. And I don't know why America has like driver's license by state. They should just nationalize and centralize. That would reduce a lot of bureaucratic overhead. Just reduce a lot of overheads and consolidate it. But I don't know, you have these like Republican, libertarian conspiracy people saying, oh, the government's got your data and they're going to control you. As I said, they already got us with the McDonald's and Marlboro cigarettes and Oreo cookies and, even these Ritz crackers. All of those things are made with like an intense amount of chemicals, and definitely can do some harm to your body. And there was definitely a time when, the cigarette companies were telling people to get the population, they were telling the people to smoke, it was healthy, while telling the governments this will, reduce life expectancy and you won't have to pay out the pensions. That's that has happened, and that's the way they would go about poisoning us. They wouldn't do it with a vaccine or, making us have one national driver's license or something. They would they would do it the way they do it. They would make something that tastes good, and then we would all be like, yeah, that's our culture, that's what I want. You don't take my Fruit Loops away, that's my liberty. Don't tell me how to eat. That's how they get you. They make it something you even want. They're not gonna create something where there's going to be resistance. They've already got everyone eating out of their hand, believing that McDonald's is like part of the American society and the American fabric, and they would fight and defend that if the government was like going to regulate fast food. So you're taking my chicken McNuggets, something like that. So yeah, that's your conspiracy. If they if they're going to get you, they already did. I mean, look at the drinking water situation. Nobody wants to pay taxes, so we don't have pure drinking water in America, except in a few cities, like liberal cities like Chicago, and has this like really clean drinking water, where it's cleaner than Evian. So start with the water and the food. That's where they're going to get you, because that's something you need every day, and it's something you would even defend. If you find yourself defending something, dig into it a little bit. You're doing their work for them. You're doing you're doing they're not going to put something out there that's going to create pushback. So anyway, here I am at the gym. I'm going to do my workout, clear my head. It's really important, to get into a routine. You don't have to be like the strongest guy in the gym. You just have to show up every day and go through a routine, and eventually everything just gets better on its own. But yeah, it's a real fight to get out of bed sometimes. Anyway, take care. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.